Okay, Street Shadows, a memoir of race, rebellion, and redemption by Jerald Walker and published by Bantam Books in 2010. All right, it's billed as a memoir. I would say it isn't a memoir. The guy can write. There's no doubt about it that the guy can write. To me, he's an essayist. And I'd say there are probably 3 or 4, maybe 5 solid essays, 2 or 3 really, really good essays that have been forced into memoir form, most likely by the publisher. I can just imagine, that he came with these essays, which are sharp. He's a black dude, he can write well, he's got a really good story. He's got, both of his parents are blind. He's got 5 brothers, a whole bunch of brothers. Some of them have made it out of the ghetto. Others have sort of fallen victim to the ghetto. I mean, yeah, you want this guy to publish a book. I can totally understand that. I want to read this guy's memoir, but he hasn't written it. Not with this book. No. I would say the best piece in this book, without a doubt the best piece in this book, is it's this really cool thing where he's got, at this point, he's out of the ghetto, he's working as a creative writing teacher, and he gets this short story by a student of his, and it's about her wanting to have an abortion, and then she gets a miscarriage, and she's kind of mourning the miscarriage, right? And all the complicated feelings that come with that, and then suddenly, it's sort of it goes back and forth between his comments about the essay and then, his actual experiences with attempting and failing to have a kid with his wife, Brenda. It's the best piece, without a doubt, in the book, and it's not about race. But the thing is, it's suddenly, at this point in the book, which is pretty far on in the book, I'm learning that, he had problems having kids with his wife. This is totally new to me. I have no idea, right? There's another really good piece about him going to Africa, to Zimbabwe, or maybe it's Zambia, I don't know. He goes with his wife. His wife is half Zimbabwean, right? So they go there. She has to study in I don't know, in the National Library or something for some research project she's got to do, and he's along with her, right? And he has this sense of because of his experience there and because of being the prejudices against him for being not black enough or not white enough, he has this sense, or he has this epiphany about race, how it's fluid, I think that's the word he uses, or how labels of race are kind of unscientifically given, right? That's a really good piece. I have to say it's good, right? Great, I don't know. But I mean, it's you want to read pieces like this written by black guys or black people because it gives you insight, especially someone like me who's white. Also, there's a lot of cool stuff in there because it goes back and forth, the book, basically between him sort of trying to fit in this kind of white suburban college town where he's a professor, and it goes back and forth between that and his experiences in the ghetto. I think the experiences in the ghetto, to me, don't sing. They don't sing, to me, they don't really have impact. It's the other stuff that does. And so some of the scenes, though, when he's at this college and his white colleagues are kind of tiptoeing around him because he's black and don't even know how to invite him to play in a basketball game, or these fucking white people who want to tell black people how they're supposed to feel about white people. Shit, that has got to be annoying, right? And so he's really generous about that. He's I keep saying this. I'm gonna keep saying this. I want to read this guy's memoir, but he didn't write a memoir. He didn't, it starts out well. There's some really cool stuff in it where he's got this experience with this white gay professor who kind of takes Jerald under his wing at this community college because he's got writing talent, and he I think he even pays for his like college tuition at some point. And there's this great scene where they kind of like end up in bed together. I mean, I'm not giving anything away by that, okay? But it's so well done in that part, or that character, you know? The Professor Homewood, I think his name is Homewood. He's like a great character, but one of the problems with this book is that like it's like it covers too much. I mean, there's no way you could write a memoir about all these things. I mean, there's stuff with the Iowa Writers Workshop. I mean, it kind of annoys me because like Frank Conroy is a legend, right? He's a director of that program, and Jerald Walker has classes with him, and then it's James Allen McPherson, who's the first black guy or the first black person to get the Pulitzer, is also his teacher, and he has this kind of epiphany with James Allen McPherson about, you know, how his writing about the ghettos doesn't transcend sort of the mundane, and how he's exploiting his experiences to like, I don't know, to become a writer. I mean, that doesn't have anywhere near the power to me as the stuff with Professor Homewood. I mean, am I supposed to be like impressed? Because like, I don't think Jerald Walker wants me to be impressed by this, but like sometimes people name drop, and like just because you name drop, I'm supposed to be fascinated because your teachers like James Allen McPherson or Frank Conroy, when really what I really want to read about is this relationship that he had with this Professor Homewood. That is the fascinating stuff. That is definitely the fascinating stuff. Also, like when he writes about his family, or when he writes about his father and his mother, he gives a lot of background information, but background information doesn't bring these people to life, man. Or his brothers. There's good stuff about him and his brother Jimmy because they're twins, and like the rivalry between them, about how Jerald always comes out on top. That is cool. I have to say that is definitely cool, right? But I don't know, man. I mean, another thing is the pieces kind of just end, or they just stop. Most of them just stop. They don't end. You know, they're just kind of truncated. You know, he doesn't, generally speaking, end his pieces well. I mean, 3 or 4 of them, yeah. Like the essays that have kind of, I think they've gotten into like Best American Essays of some year. I can see why. I can definitely see why. But most of this stuff, like this filler he put in to turn this into a memoir, no doubt at the publishers like request. Why do publishers do this? Why do they do that, right? Number one, it's like you think you're getting a memoir, you're not getting a memoir, so you're pissed, right? And so you don't want to read memoirs anymore because you know the publishers aren't giving you the straight skinny on what they're selling you, right? And then second of all, like here you are, like making this guy write this memoir. Why not just say, look, we got a great writer, let's cultivate it, let's tell him wait, make sure you get the memoir right, okay, then we'll publish it. No, they publish it too soon, and so now it's like I'm not that fired up about this guy's work. Like, why would you fucking do that? Like this, people say, well, why are books not being read? Because of the shit that publishers do, man. Publishers should not do this shit. They shouldn't do this shit. They should just have made this guy sit on the book, right, and then write it when he was ready to write it. But, you know, he's under the pressure of, like, you know, he wants to get this book out there. Who wouldn't, right? Who wouldn't want to get his book out there? But still, it gets out there, and, you know, it's sort of like, you know, it's not what it could have been. And that's heartbreaking. Because, like I said, this guy's a really good writer. That's another thing, man. This memoir won awards. It won awards. How did it win awards? The Kirkus Review gave it an award. A Penn gave it an award. Like, how? I don't understand that. Like, what the fuck, man? These awards don't mean anything. Look, to sum up, he's a really good writer, and Bantam Books, who published this, made a mistake. They published it too soon. You know, we never really got to read the memoir. This guy probably is capable of writing if you gave him time. No, we don't get it. We don't get it. We get this fragmented excuse for a memoir with some really good essays in it. That's the way I would sum this up, man. That's the way I would sum this up.